What's up, people? I'm so excited to tell you about NordVPN, okay? Because I travel all the time, whether it's on a cruise ship, another country, a military base. And now sometimes I can't watch the UFC because where I'm at doesn't have it. Well, now I can because NordVPN makes it so that I can watch the UFC from different territories via streaming. It lets you change your computer's location to come from anywhere in the world. How cool is that? You might be wondering, what's a VPN? Okay, I know I was. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And it's a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. It creates an encrypted tunnel for your data. It protects your online identity by hiding your IP address. It allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely. Yes, so no one will track you or hack you, yada, yada. No one likes to be watched or tracked. I don't. Even if you have nothing to hide, still, we want our privacy, which is why it's important to step up your privacy game. Whether you're browsing through a VPN, when you are doing that, okay, your traffic is encrypted so that no one can see what you're doing online, all right? I know a lot of our listeners like to, be private. I've met some of you guys, and I can understand why. Here are a few reasons why you need a VPN, okay? Use public Wi-Fi regularly. You want to access your content. You want to stay safer online, and you're an avid gamer. So you get your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/roasted. You can get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 months for free. That's the best deal ever, right? It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I am so pumped because now I can watch the fights from wherever I am. Because so many times I'm like trying to watch the fights and I'm like, it's the most frustrating thing ever. Well, now my life is going to change thanks to NordVPN. NordVPN, check it out. Highly recommend. You'll be thanking me later.
Let me bang, I man. Do let you bang. Hey, let me bang you, man. I let you bang. I let you bang. Greetings, marrieds and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No forget Jesus, people.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new MMA Roasted Podcast. Me, Adam Hunter. I'm sick today, 101 fever.
Oh, shit. Did you catch a flu?
Yeah, for my kid. She was sick all last week. And so I was home with her, cuddling, and I'm like, I get so cocky with my I never got COVID. And I'm like, dude, I used to bang porn stars. Like, I'm fine. My body is...
Your body has seen all of the possible infections.
Nothing can touch me. I'm like, nothing can touch me. I'm fine. And then finally, I was like, last night, I'm like, oh, it's just the cats. It's just allergies, the cats.
Just making excuses.
And then I wake up to my wife, put like the thermometer. It's like 101. And I'm like, oh.
Jeez.
But it's all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. Cowboys had a big weekend. I had great shows. My fantasy football teams all won. UFC had real fights. There was a lot of good stuff. There was some trash. I mean, it is Halloween. Trash is in for Halloween, I guess. We had a spooktacular of a fake fight.
All right, we gotta talk about that. I guess we'll get right into that. Okay.
No, did McCorkle watch it? Should we wait?
You will wait for McCorkle. Yeah, okay.
We'll wait for McCorkle.
So first of all, I had great shows. The Dirty at 12:30.
So great, always
probably
fun.
The best show in the history of shows. I mean, the best crowds, the most loving crowds ever. At 12:30 at night in Vegas, they come out.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I'm like, I had a show in Bakersfield. I figured Bakersfield was on the way back. I'm like, Bakersfield's on the way back from Vegas. I'll just drive back. It's not. For some reason.
No, not at all. And in fact, geographically, it's fucking horrible to try and get across to it.
Right. So I drive back to Bakersfield, do a show. Still a good show. And then last night I got this girl, Kat C. Kat? She's like this hot Asian girl, model who does comedy. And she's just like one of these girls. So she called me up like 2 years ago. When am I ready for an agent? I'm like, well, how much time do you have? 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, let's talk. You need at least, one of those. So like, but she's very sweet. I just had to tell her like, you need 45. People do 45 minutes. So one of those things, right? So she's like, hey, will you do a benefit show at the Bourbon Club or something? So I'm like, Bourbon Room in Hollywood. Who's the benefit for? Oh, it's a politician. It's a fundraiser. Okay. How much? Oh, let me check. And then of course she gets back to the numbers. I'm like, okay, so who's the politician? What are his politics? I don't know. So, he's a gay
It's not good. That's
he's a
not
gay
good.
Gay Korean guy, right? So of course I get there. There's 8.
Oh, well, why didn't you say that first? Then the answer is automatically yes. I mean,
of course I get there. There's 8 people there, right? Like 5 of which are comics. And I was like, this benefit show needs a benefit show. Like that's what I opened with. And then I go, who is this even for? I go, is the guy even here? Like, no. I'm like, well, he's not gonna win. I'm like, I heard trash. I go, how is he gonna win? He couldn't show his own benefit. They're like, oh, he's not allowed to come to this benefit shows. I go, there's 8 people here. I think he'll be all right. Like no one will never will find out. So I spent like 5 minutes just trashing the show, and to the point where I couldn't even follow that with my jokes.
The trashing it was too good.
It was too good. But yeah, so that was crazy. I guess I know Sean didn't watch the UFC fights, so we might as well talk about those.
All right, sounds good.
So Arnold Allen. First of all, Arnold Allen is great, but this is where I think the UFC should be more like the WWE, where if a guy's too nice and isn't going to shit talk, unless he's GSP, where he's like the only guy from Canada. I know there was Patrick Cote and a couple other guys, but GSP was the guy. You need a manager. You need someone like a Greg Wilson to go in there and just start shit talking everyone for him.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing of like, yeah, granted, he won a fight because the guy's knee blew out, but like, I don't care who they fight in front of me, and I'm happy to be here, and life is good. That no one's getting excited by that. Like, you need somebody to go in there, like a Bobby Heenan or one of those guys back in the day, Jimmy the Mouth Hart, right? Wouldn't that be great if a guy like let him? That was the thing about Brock Lesnar. He's not good at talking, so they had the other guy in WWE. Forgot Paul Heyman was his manager. Like that's where actually I think it should be more like, but I don't understand Calvin Kattar because his like leg blows out, his leg's gone, ACL, and props to the guy for trying, but then he goes in there and throws a flying knee, starts the second round. Like if your leg is gone completely, why would you then? Like, I mean, talk about a Hail Mary. And maybe he thought that he wouldn't expect it because my leg is gone. I mean,
maybe that seems right. Yeah, he's going to attack it, so attack him with it.
But what do you think's going to happen when you land on your leg?
Listen, no, it made zero sense. Everyone, first of all, okay, it was funny. The points you made are obviously very valid. Arnold Allen even said in his little pre-video, he's like, people don't talk about me a lot because I don't talk a lot. Or he said, I don't talk a lot, which is why I'm not talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. So he knows this.
Yeah.
He knows that that's the problem. He's number 6 in the ranking. That's now going to go up. He'll probably go up at least to 5 to Cater's spot, at least, if not higher. So, I mean, and to be in a relative unknown quantity that high up is pretty shocking. And it is because of those factors. Number 2, it's very tragic that for some reason we need, and this is the kind of thing, like once the gate is open, then things have changed. And, this happened with McGregor. McGregor changed it by making it all mouth. And now if you're not a mouth, then nobody cares. And it's like, what about the fact that he's a fucking great fighter? I bet on him to win anyway. I thought he was going to win anyway. And then for him to win in that fashion, I was like, oh, thank you. Still right.
It only matters if like you're from a country that like where there's no one, like you're the only guy, if you're the only guy from Sweden or you're the only guy from then you can have the whole country. But Arnold Allen, England's got a bunch of guys. He's not, you know,
and it doesn't help that he also has a boring ass name like Arnold Allen. I mean, it sounds like he's your
Frye, your mustache is a thing of beauty right now. It's like an upside down smiley face.
Look at that handsome guy. There he is.
I don't even know what to think about. Did somebody like? Who did that? You did it yourself, or did somebody did that for you?
No, my girlfriend Lisa did that for me. Yeah.
Ooh, she likes them mustache rides.
Yeah, is that what you're sitting on your face? It looks like you're smiling.
Yeah, exactly. From every direction.
Yeah, she feels like he's smiling too.
Oh my God, that is the coolest thing. Now, Don Frye was a guy you didn't talk very much, but the way you fought, like there was just. Like, I mean, you were never really a shit talker, were you?
Oh, I was against Shamrock, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of a real dickhead against Ken, you know.
But was that because you just didn't like him personally, or you just wanted to hype the fight?
I wanted to, both, you know. I wanted to hype the fight because I wanted to fight him, you know, because he was getting so much. I lost. God dang it. He was getting so much attention, you know, and it hurt my little ego.
So like, was it the nickname, the world's most dangerous man, but you were like, I'm the most dangerous man. This is some bullshit.
Well, yeah, that, you know, and like I said, all the promotion he got. I mean, he earned it. He earned it for you know, so but it just hurt my little feelings that I didn't have it.
Now, there was a debate whether a prime Ken Shamrock would beat a prime Brock Lesnar. What's your thoughts?
Oh, man. Fuck. You know, that's a close call because Ken was the strongest person I ever you know, fought, you know, ever wrestled. And hell, he's completely powerful. I think it would have. I think he'd have won. I think Ken would have won, yeah.
He was stronger than Coleman? Stronger than Coleman?
Yeah.
Wow. So we're talking about a fight that happened over the weekend. Did you watch the UFC fights? No. Okay, so there was a fight where the main event, the guy blew out his ACL quickly, and kept fighting, right? But you knew that it was only a matter of time. Either they stopped the fight. So they start the second round, and the guy goes for a flying knee. And then his leg's just totally gone. Like it's over. Like he goes, the guy moves out of the way. He goes into the cage and he's lying there. And the fight, which I'm like, if you don't have a leg, why would you then go for the flying knee? Like I would think that'd be the one move you didn't go for, but maybe he tried to surprise him or he just said, fuck it. I just got to go, you know?
Yeah, one last giant leap for mankind, you know?
Yeah, he was. He was like, I got to I don't think he thought, you know, he's going to attack it, so I'll attack him with it, you know, and see if I can get off a big one. And
there was another fight where this guy, Waldo Cortez Acosta, so the guy was a minor league baseball player, and he threw like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, right? And he's only had 5 fights. But every single punch he threw was like he was throwing a baseball, which was impressive. But the other guy just kept kicking his leg. So it was a matter of like, is he going to land or it was like a video game where each person knew one move. And they gave it to the baseball player, but it almost they gave it 30-27, but that was a very strange fight. Greg, what do you think of that fight?
I don't. You know what? I'm trying to think.
It was the heavyweights.
I know the heavyweights, and I'm trying to think of what I thought of it, and I don't know if I saw that one.
It was Jared Vendetta or something.
Yeah, I think something happened that I missed that fight. So
it's crazy because that guy's coach is a buddy of mine in Arizona, and he's like, "You got to see this guy. He throws all his punches like a baseball player and just knocks fuckers out." Which was great until they realized that's what you're trying to do. Like once people realize that that's your thing, it's like,
yeah. But you have the overhead right, you know, so you're just gonna step aside, yeah. Like being on a train track.
Yeah,
get off the fucking, you know, step one way or the other, you know.
Yeah, he's got to learn some more moves. Once the guy learns a couple more moves, I think he'll be dangerous. But I mean,
that's the way it is with heavyweights, though. With heavyweights, it's just like, let them go at it. Like it's rare to get a well-rounded heavyweight right off the bat.
Well, it's funny because I remember one time I was watching a boxing match and they're like, what happened to all the good American heavyweights? And the commentator, I think it was Jim Lampley, he goes, well, they're playing football and they're playing baseball. And that's,
Yeah. That's why Cyril Gahn moved up so fast, because he was an actual well-rounded heavyweight. He was a very rare thing to have. And he just came in and had enough game to sweep through guys.
So Max Griffin just beat Tim Means. I kind of knew that was going to happen. No offense to Tim Means. I just thought that Max is just right now a little younger. And Tim's had a little long in the tooth, as they call it.
Yeah. I thought that one
got fucking killed. Don.
Wait a minute, but the split decision was hilarious. Come on. I mean, one guy had all three. I thought Tim maybe won one round, but the fact that he actually won one card, I was like, what? And even Tim was like, okay, like, he knew he had lost. That Max knew he'd won. Like, and then the other guy had him winning all 3 rounds for Max Griffin. And I'm like, yeah, if it was either 3 rounds or 2-1. There was no who the fuck was giving Means. 2-1 was strange, and even he seemed a little surprised.
You're absolutely right. So Arlovsky had won like 6 in a row.
Oh, that was tough to watch.
But he fought this guy that had about 25 pounds on him, Don. He got a Brazilian guy who just beat him up.
Just beat the shit out of him.
And he took him down and he threw in a rear naked choke and didn't even have it locked. He had one arm and he tapped right away to a one-arm rear naked choke. I don't know. I mean, he's 43, 44. I mean, he's a but have you ever
43, but he looked 53 in this match.
Don, have you ever tap in your life?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How many times?
I think just once.
Once out of how many fights?
30. I just, because I wasn't. I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid to get hurt. So I was like, "Fuck you," fuck. So I just, I mean, you put the effort, or I did. I would. I would give them what they paid for, and if they didn't fucking pay me, fuck it. I'm not
so
it
wasn't about you being hurt. It was you just like, I'm out of here.
No, I was hurt, or I was about to get hurt. Because when my back was so fucking bad, I warmed up too much in the locker room, and then when we went knocked out, waiting to walk into the cage, or the ring. It was cold in the arena, and so my back got cold all of a sudden, and it seized up. And when I got taken down, I couldn't move my legs. My legs wouldn't move at all.
So this was like past. This is later, much later, Don Frye.
Yeah.
But like in your prime, you would never tap, huh?
No.
Like, would you rather go to sleep, break your arm, break your leg?
I'd rather go to sleep. Shit.
But like when Ken Shamrock broke your leg, right? Pretty much broke your ankle.
Yeah, both ankles. Yeah.
So he breaks both ankles during the fight. Did you even think about tapping?
No, hell no. Because the adrenaline was going so strong, and and I had talked so much shit. There's no way I was going to give him the satisfaction,
How do you teach? How do you teach that, man? How do you teach somebody?
Can you teach that?
Can you teach that? You think?
I don't think so. I think it's like telling the joke. It's timing. You can't teach timing. You can give them the fucking perfect joke, but if they can't relay it, and express it properly, it's not going to work.
No, I was telling my friend a story. I was telling my friend a story about wrestling when my dad, my senior year, took me out of. I was undefeated, Greg. I know it was. I won a little tournament in middle school. I was undefeated, right? And and my dad took me out of the season to do this like wilderness family trip where we went out to Canada. A bunch of families talk about our problems and get a lot closer. And I was so fucking mad because I was like middle of my fucking season, the same time as my dad, and you only have one father. So you went out there for a week of hiking with other families. and you gather on a campfire at night. You talk about what you're dealing with, and then we hike like 3 miles the next morning, like after a week, and it was fucking frozen lake in Canada. And that night I had a match against the guy who was ranked #1 in the state public school in Maine, right? And this guy was just looked like a little bulldog, just legs like this. And I figured out like I could just take him down and let him up because he was just he couldn't stop my low single. So I ended up beating him like 15-6 or 15-7. But I was so fucking pissed on that I didn't pin him. Like I was so mad at myself that I was in tears.
Right.
I was in tears. Right. And my dad's like, "What? About to go back to New York?" And he's like, "What's the matter? You beat this fucking bull." I go, "Yeah, but I didn't fucking pin him." And I was crying. And my dad's like, "I'm going. You're lame. I'm going home." My dad just left, you know. But I like told my friend that, and he was like, "How do we get our kids to care that much? You know, like, is it just something that you have and something?" But I don't know. But that's that. I don't know if I don't think I could ever break 2 ankles in a fight like Don Frye and continue fighting the best guy in the world and act like nothing happened. I don't think there's any man in the world that can, other than Renzo Gracie, who broke his arm in a fight. Against Sakuraba and kept fighting with the other arm. I just don't think that they make guys like you anymore, Don. It's unbelievable. I mean, Sean.
Enzo's amazing. Enzo's an amazing guy. I love Enzo, you know. But apparently you got your dedication and your hard work ethic and your balls from your mom, then, huh?
well, I never knew my mom. So but my mom So maybe. But Sean, did you watch the Arlovsky fight?
The Arlovsky fight?
Yeah.
I didn't know he fought. I had no idea. When was that?
Saturday. It was the same time as all those fake fights that you were watching.
Oh, I was going to say, I was watching Anderson Silva choreograph and throw a boxing match. That was
we haven't talked about that yet, Sean, because we were waiting for you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
We figured that you guys wouldn't have watched the UFC fights, so let's go through those fights first.
You know what? Real quick, speaking of we're recording, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you where it comes from, Adam. You know, that not quitting or that stuff like that. For me, anyway. You know, pride is a character flaw that will ruin your life. It really will. Even if you read the Bible, it says over and over again how terrible pride is. Like it'll ruin relationships, ruins marriages. You know, like people will over pride. They'll lose their wife just because they're too proud to say they're wrong or whatever. But in fighting, it's a wonderful thing. Like to be a proud person, like to be too. When I fought with my arm, I found the tape. I'll send you guys clips later when I dislocated my shoulder and kept fighting the whole fight. Literally, the doctor told me I could have died because of where it was broken at. It could have severed an artery and I could have died like with it hanging there. But I looked across the cage at that dude and he was some fat, repulsive dude. The thought of him celebrating his win over me when I was undefeated, it's just a little show I was being paid $500 for. The thought of him dancing around celebrating that he beat me, I just couldn't do it. I was like, dude, I will die. I literally would have died before I would have quit against him. Like, he wouldn't even let the ref stop it. Like, I am not going to watch him celebrate. And usually I've found that comes from years of abuse of some kind or another. Like in one way or another, like the pride like that, like having older brothers that beat you up or torture you like my older brother did me, you know, or whatever, like wanting to, like when I watch people play basketball or whatever, I'm like, how can you not care? How can you care so little? I played like an animal when I played, you know, or whatever. Like Charles Barkley played soft compared to how I played, you know, or whatever. But that was from years of my brother beating the hell out of me in the backyard, rubbing it in, making fun of me for weeks afterward that he beat me, cheating, changing the score so he could beat me, things like that. But usually
with comedy, Greg, is that like, I know sometimes you'll be on stage bombing, not you, me, like you, I'm saying you as in comics. Right. And like,
Brendan Schaub.
Yeah. And like, I know that I have an excuse, like the crowd sucks, the fucking whatever, you know, they're not drunk enough, that this happened, that happened. It's a game night. There's too many feminists in the crowd. There's all these excuses you can make, right? But I know in the back of my head that when I'm driving home later that night, I'm going to know it's my fault. I know it's my fault. So I can tell myself in the moment that it's everybody else's fault, but I know it's my fault. So I'm like, fuck it. Like, I owe it to myself to give it my best shot. And if I bomb, I bomb, but I got to go out on my shield because I can't. You see comics all the time. Like, you know, it's a shitty crowd. So they'll sit on the stool and just fucking tell a story. And I'm like, no, man, I owe it to myself to give it my best shot. And if I lose, I lose. But I don't want to like drive home. That's a fucking, depending on how long that like ride is too. That's a long ride home to know.
Try to get your ass whipped on national TV and all your cornermen treat you like they're disappointed in you when you just lost to one of the toughest people in the world. They don't want to be around you, and you're like, really, dude? It's like one of the best guys in the world kicked my ass. Sorry to disappoint. So,
oh my god,
it's the same way if you bomb at a festival and there's all those comics around and like. You're like, yeah, so you're like knowing like, oh, cool, great set, yeah.
Like, well, it's always a we won, and then when you lose, it's you lost,
Yeah,
100%.
There it is.
So, real quick before we get into the Jake Paul thing, so Chase Hooper, man,
that kid got lit up.
They brought this kid up who looked like Screech, he looked like Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Are you talking about Chase Hooper?
Yeah. Super skinny.
Oh, he's the one that looks like Screech?
Yeah, super skinny, like jiu-jitsu. I don't know if it's a prodigy, but really good at jiu-jitsu. But all his fights from day one have been him getting the shit beaten out of him coming back and finding a way to submit the guy. It was almost like UFC 1, where you get that jiu-jitsu guy who just gets knocked around and then and it would work. And he became like this, like almost like a legend. Like people started really getting behind, and he's funny. He's a really nice kid, doesn't do drugs. It's like cool kid, right? Well, last time he fought, he started using his like striking. And people were like, oh shit, like everything's improved. Like, so now maybe we got something here. He's a likable kid. And so anyway, cut to last Saturday, he went up against a kid that he was making his UFC debut and just knocked him down 4 times in the first round. And then finished him up in like a minute and a half. And it was like, whoa, like that was hard to watch. Almost like he was.
It did look like a schoolyard fight where the badass kid was just killing the nerd. And you were like, why are they allowing this to happen? Somebody fucking stop this. This guy's killing this kid, he wanted to be
Sean, what do you do with a kid like that the game plan can't be to get the shit beaten out of every fight until he gets a submission.
Wait, so Chase won or lost?
Lost.
Oh, my God.
Again to a UFC newcomer?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Chase, he looked, it reminds me of the guy Ryan Hall a little bit. The guy Ryan Hall can submit anybody until they realize that's all he's got. And then just stay away from him. Won't go to the ground with him. You can't do that. But I was a fan of Chase's ever since he acted like he was Ben Askren's son and went up to Jorge Masvidal and was like, why'd you beat up my dad? And he was like, who's your dad? And he said, Ben Askren. And then Masvidal's face like, dude, I am sorry. Like apologizing to him, thought he was his son, but he was dead serious. But I think Hooper, I wish, man, the UFC, I've said this for years, I wish the UFC would have some sort of developmental league or would do something to where they bring these guys along slower, or I wish they would like instead of always trying to get everyone's ass whipped every fight, you know what I mean, or whatever, like let a guy, it's like if a guy wins 2 in a row, we got to get him killed. You know what I mean? Like it's like if they never, ever, like Pride used to, if you watch Pride, Fedor would fight some guy no one's ever heard of who's 7 foot tall that can't really fight. And then he would fight a decent Japanese guy, but a guy he would beat. Then he would fight a guy who was pretty decent, but still he would beat. Then he'd fight Crow Cop at the end of the year when Crow Cop also beat 3 guys during the year at the same level. But the UFC, it's like we have to get everybody a loss so we have position to negotiate on their contract. So we got to get everybody a loss. So they just always put winner versus winner versus winner. And they're always trying to get everybody's ass kicked. And a guy like Tony Ferguson probably has some fights left in him. But let him fight someone he can beat for once. Like, why is it always someone who's going to, a top 5 guy, or Nate Diaz? Like, let him go against a guy who's lost 9 in a row, like, Smiling Sam Alvey, like something like, I don't understand why they don't do that. Pride used to build guys up almost like pro wrestling. You remember the WWE days? They would have like during the week, every week they would have these guys would fight and they would build their match up to the month's pay-per-view, and then that's when they would be where the star when it gets star. But UFC, it's like no one gets an easy fight ever, and I don't understand that. Like,
God, what do you do with a kid that is just such a great grappler, but his stand-up is just years behind his grappling?
Who are you talking to?
You.
What was your great grappler but no stand-up?
Yeah.
You just concentrate on the stand-up. I mean, why do you keep polishing what you're already good at? You got to work on your weak spots. Always work on your weak spots. You know, you got to try and build them up. I mean, if you're unbeatable in one thing, why would you continue to work on it? You know, I mean, you got to cut it down to 10% so that you keep it polished. But you gotta fix the low parts in your strategy.
Yeah, I think the problem is like, how do we get the fight to the ground? Because it's like that's the issue. Like,
dude, if you can only drives me crazy. Like a guy like Ryan Hall can beat anyone on the ground, but he doesn't work takedowns. Like you should work takedowns 90% of the time. You'll win once you get him to the ground. But what I found, Adam, and I'm sure Don saw the same thing, guys who are good standing up don't want to train on the ground because they don't like getting beat up or thrown around wrestling. And guys on the ground don't like getting beat up standing up, so they don't want to train stand up. The only exception would be when I was fighting Mark Hunt, everybody's like, have you been working on your kickboxing? I was like, not a bit. And they're like, why not? I said, because if it's a kickboxing match, I lose 100 times out of 100. I can't stand and trade with him. I can't even hang with him standing up. So I worked on takedowns almost exclusively. Then I ended up having to pull guard because I couldn't take him down. But that was like, to me, like it's, other than that, if you're as good as him on the ground, why are you working? I mean, like Don said, a little bit to keep you sharp, but like a wrestler going in there and practicing wrestling 5 days a week, if you're Ben Askren, makes no sense at all,
Right, 100%. Also, a couple more fights. There was a guy, Trayson Gore, who ripped the guy's head off, basically.
Oh, boy, that was, whoa. I mean, that looked painful.
He had a guillotine, and the guy was on the ground, and he was standing, the guy was sitting up, he walked around him and still had his head. Like they're facing opposite ways.
And like he was trying to squeeze off his head and the neck. You could see everything just stretch the fuck. So you were like,
it was like a reverse bulldog choke, kind of like a bulldog choke. The guy's sitting down and he's basically just like carrying his head like a balloon.
Yeah. That guy's definitely in a neck brace today.
And then I felt bad for Phil Hawes because this guy Roland Dolitz knocked him out. But another guy, Phil Hawes, was like, he was fighting, but something was wrong with him. I think something popped out. His knee popped out.
Yeah, his knee, yeah.
He was a sitting duck. And then Cody Durden, the guy who won.
Is that the one where, wait a minute, was that the one where Roman basically had the knee and yes, and he did that weird leg lock, but it was like sideways. So he pulled it hyperextends, and Phil like goes like he's gonna tap, but then doesn't. And Roman was being a nice guy, let it go, like this fight's over. And then Phil was like, no, let's fight. And they're like,
so his knee wasn't popped out, but then he wouldn't. But then he wouldn't target the knee. He's such a nice guy. He was like, So he easily could have ended the fight by kicking him in the knee. And that's what Bisping was telling him to do. He's like, fuck this, it's the fight game. But at the end, it was a matter of time. And then Cody Durden, who a couple fights ago, he beat the guy from China. And he said, I don't want to send him back to China. Everyone got mad at him. So this time he fought a guy from Brazil. And he won. And you were waiting him to say, I'm going to send his ass back to Brazil. Like you're like, oh, don't say that. He got so much shit for that. But he didn't say it. He was actually a nice
He should have
guy.
said he was going to send his ass back to China. That would have really thrown him off.
He said Zach went back to China.
Yeah, send the Brazilian guy. We'll send him back to China. They'd be like, wait.
That would have been hilarious. All right.
By the way, how weird was it when Khalil Roundtree won and then the audience was booing and shit? And like, man, it's like, dude, he won. I thought it was pretty definitive that Khalil Roundtree won that fight too.
I hate to say it. I thought he lost that fight.
I thought he won. I was with the judge's decision. I was surprised. I didn't think. I mean, I could see where it was close. It's not like the Tim Means fight. It was definitely closer. I could see where it was a split decision, but because I mean, the second round and third both went back and forth pretty strongly. But I thought he won. I thought he legitimately won that. But for the crowd to be acting like, like it was a robbery.
Well, what happened was they brought in like 100 guys from the Vanderbilt baseball.
Right. They were all there fans.
So
of his,
they were all there to support
Jacoby.
the baseball player. So I don't think
it's so dumb. It was so dumb. I was like, dude, he won. Shut up.
All right. So the Jake Paul fight. Don, did you watch it?
No, did not.
All right. So Jake Paul fought.
Dumb.
All right. Jake Paul fought Anderson Silva, right? Now,
Right.
Jake Paul won the fight.
Wait, no. Jake Paul fought
Okay.
Air quotes.
All right. I am under the impression that like this was not a fixed fight. It did look like Anderson was throwing at 50%. It did look like, but I also think, I went back and I look back. I go, Anderson was 47 years old. He's had 3 or 4 knee surgeries, maybe 5 knee surgeries, a lot of knee surgeries. He hasn't won a fight since 2015, which was against Nick Diaz. Okay. And Nick Diaz was a blown up Nick Diaz. He did beat, what's his name? Derek Brunson, but I thought he lost that fight. He looked great in boxing against Chavez Jr., but I Googled Chavez Jr., and his father is worried about him because he's been on drugs for a long time. He's also on suicide watch. So I'm not sure what Chavez...
So am I after watching that fight.
I'm not sure what Chavez Jr. he really beat based on that information. So, Don, Silva doesn't throw a punch in the first round. He throws one punch, literally one punch, right? Then throughout the fight, he has times where he was doing his Anderson Silva stuff, but he just wasn't. It was a case of also where the speed is the first to go. And Anderson Silva, like Roy Jones Jr., did everything wrong when he won his fights. Everything wrong. Chin up, hands down. But his speed and his quickness, his timing was what was so incredible. And he was a counterpuncher. Well, now his speed and timing is gone. So he went in and the rounds were kind of close. He never really hurt Jake at all. Jake never hurt him until the 8th round when he threw like a looping punch that knocked Silva down, which different angles show that he didn't even hit him really. Other angles show he hit him.
He was just off balance. Off balance.
And then after the one, he goes, Dana White sucked my dick. And I guess
who said that?
Jake Paul. And I guess they made a bet that if he won, Anderson Silva would help him start a fighters union for the UFC guys. So now he's going to start a union for the fighters. Sean, thoughts on this fight?
Dude, I'll tell you, and tell me if I go too long because it actually irritates me. Anderson Silva caught almost every punch Jake Paul threw, or parried every punch in the first round. Didn't get touched. Everything he threw, he just caught, blocked, doesn't throw anything back. And several times he cut angles where he could have blasted Jake Paul in the face. Didn't, threw a half-speed little punch. I have to believe, man, and I'm dead serious, I have to believe there's a clause in the contract where they can't knock him out, or maybe the fight's real, but they can't knock him out. Maybe it's, hey, by the way, if Jake happens to win, there's a $2 million on the back end for you. I'm not saying you have to do it, but there is no way that I told Adam, or I think maybe all you guys just on a group text, there's no way Anderson Silva fights Stylebender in a striking only match. Strikes with him, he lost, but it was close. One of the best kickboxers in the world fights with him, and he can't beat Jake Paul in a boxing match, and Jake Paul landed nothing. And to top it all off, even if Anderson Silva had knocked down Jake Paul in the 8th round, like even if it was the other way around, he still would have lost by decision on the judges' scorecards. Like that's how far the judges had the scoring apart, that by a 10-8 round in the 8th, if it was a 10-8 round for Silva, he still would have lost. Silva would have had to knock him down twice to get a draw. That's how bad the judging was. So if Silva had knocked him down in the 7th and the 8th and not got knocked down, he ended up with a draw still. So don't tell me the scoring's not fixed, because the scoring's fixed for sure. Right. But like 100% the scoring's fixed. But there's no Anderson Silva. Dude, he had 100 opportunities. He was throwing half speed. There's no way. Absolutely no way.
Greg?
Look, come on. This is nothing new to me. It's been obvious the entire time. I mean, these guys aren't dumb. They're hiring guys specifically to take a dive. They're hiring bums. I mean, and Anderson Silva is no bum, but he's an old man. And listen, the best part, the most entertaining part was him entering the arena before the fight. He's all smiles, like, hey, rainbows and lollipops and cashing checks for getting hit, like he didn't give a fuck. He was not there to fight. He was there to make $3 million. Now, the most entertaining part of the whole card was just listening to the broadcasters attempt to make it seem legitimate.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But even they, most of the time talking about like, well, yeah, everybody wants to get that Jake Paul fight. I mean, he's the cash cow. They had nothing else to say. It was, it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment.
Don,
it's a total fucking embarrassment.
15,000 people in Arizona went to watch this. Not one MMA fan is happy. I mean,
dude, sorry to interrupt again, but you're telling me if Anderson Silva's son's life depended on him winning that fight, he couldn't knock out Jake Paul? When you don't throw a punch in the first round, how do you expect to, like, there's no way. Like, it can't.
It's just crazy because he looked so good against Tito Ortiz. There's a guy on the underground that says he sparred with Anderson Silva for that fight, and he believes this fight was fixed. Because
that's what I'm saying. All you're doing is bolstering the evidence against this legitimacy.
But how is he gonna fix it? Like, how do you fix how does he fix the fight? So he just doesn't try?
The answer to all of your questions is money.
I know, but how exactly? So Sean, he's gonna go in there and lightly play with him and spar with him and let him win the rounds?
I guarantee, dude, there's a lot of shape. Dude, I told you, well, somebody, I don't want to say who, but somebody offered me money to lose to Pujanowski when I was fighting him the first time. They said, how much money would it take for this to be a really good fight and for it to go in Pujanowski's favor? Because they thought I was that much better than him, which they were wrong. But they were like, how much would it take? And I said, life-changing money. And they're like, what's life-changing? I said, in the six figures for sure. If you're talking that, they said, okay, well, never mind. I don't want to call anybody out and say who did that, but there was somebody close to the thing. But they felt me out. Like, how much would it take to make this a really good fight, to carry him all 3 rounds? And then how much if he could actually win, like, whatever. But you can send guys, stuff is so crooked, man, with them non-disclosure things. They might sign a contract that says you can't knock him out. If you do knock him out, you don't get paid. And if you ever disclose what's in here, you have to pay us $10 million. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And so, I mean, Anderson Silva's never going to admit if he fixed it, because he will become the most hated man who's ever fought if you agree to fixing a fight, But it could be something, that rumor didn't come out of nowhere where somebody said there's a no knockout clause in all of Jake Paul's boxing match stuff. That someone doesn't come up with something that creative. Like, you know what I mean? That sounded like a kernel of truth to me somewhere in there, where there's no knockout clause.
Sorry to interrupt, Sean. Part of me thinks that maybe I'm just like the way that I look at Don Frye, right? Like, I remember Don Frye as this, this beast of a man, and that, that fight that what's his name? The fucking greatest
Takayama?
fight. Yeah, Takayama fight. Like, that's how I picture Don Frye, right? So I picture Anderson Silva knocking out Forrest Griffin, just douche, boom. Or even in the Chael Sonnen rematch, douche. Or, when he fought Chris Lieben and the knees. When I think of Mike Tyson, I think of Mike Tyson just running through people. I don't think of Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeil, whatever, that guy he lost to, McNeil, or whatever, I forgot who it was.
Yeah, right.
Later. So maybe it's Jake Paul smart, because he's picking guys that everyone is going to remember them at their best. And now they're 47 years old. And it's like so we're not, as people, we're just trained to think of, even Mike Tyson right now. If Tyson fought right now, I'd be like, oh shit, Mike Tyson. I'm not looking at a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. I'm thinking of the Tyson that just ran through everybody. So,
but I guarantee you, if a 47-year-old Don Frye fought, he would throw punches with intentions of winning and to hurt the guy, even if it was only for 2 minutes. He would try to hurt. Anderson Silva did not throw one punch that it looked like light sparring, that had any intention of hurting him in the slightest. It's hard to explain. I'd have to cut the video and show you. He had a couple times where he did like Tyson does, where he cuts angles and gets to the side where he can hit you and you can't hit him, and doesn't throw anything. Like, he just cuts the angle, has the shot, and then backs back off. Like, he had several, and all his punches were pulled, man. Just slight, soft.
Do you think with 4-ounce gloves, those punches would have hurt him?
No. I mean, dude, it killed me watching it. I was like, when I watched that first 2 rounds, because I watched them later, I hit you guys up and said, was he also not fighting in the first 2 rounds? Like, was he also not throwing punches? Because I thought maybe he completely gassed out. Like, what's his name? Uriah Hall looked so tired in the second round. I thought, I was like, were they fighting 12 rounds and I missed it? Like, what is like?
So Don, Uriah Hall fought this football player who was, I guess, a great football player for a second, and then he was a bust. The guy's name, I guess.
Le'Veon Bell.
I guess he was a big prospect, but he just basically just.
Oh, he was the top runner in the league for like a season or 2, and then, didn't get the money, sat out, and his career fell apart.
So here's where I kind of a little bit concerned about Uriah Hall, because he's a very emotional guy, and Uriah Hall is one of those guys, exactly what he's thinking, right? So he says after he retired from fighting, which was not very long ago, 6 months ago, and it was one of those things where he wasn't throwing. He also didn't look like the old Uriah Hall. He said he was considering suicide, or he thought about suicide. There was a gun, and he said, "What if I just?" He goes, and then he was really depressed, and then he's like, "Then I needed this fight, it got me out of my depression," which is great. But now we're all depressed. No, it was great, but at the same time, like that's a little bit. I think there's more. When I heard that, I'm like, I'm not sure if this guy's in the right frame of mind. There's just boxing right now because it seems like there's more to it. There's more. This guy needs some serious help and therapy if this is what he's thinking of after. And I get it. I'm sure Don, you can relate, and Sean, and when you put your whole life into something and then it's over, you sometimes feel like you're worthless, and I understand what he was saying.
I'll tell you what, if he would have committed suicide, that would have been the only shot he took or the only thing he done, because he would not throw a punch. I was thinking that fight was fixed. I'm like, dude, what is going on? You're fighting a football player with one fight experience and you can't land a punch. You can't hit him. He was exhausted. I mean, exhausted. And I know about being tired in a fight. I think I could go those 4 rounds at that pace right now. Like that, if you only throw 3 punches around, it's not that hard to walk in a circle. Like it is. I don't know what's going on with these guys, man. It's like
if you only throw 3 punches around, it's not that hard to walk in a circle.
If you just seriously just walk sometime in a circle and throw 3 punches for 3 minutes.
It'd wear me out.
And like, again, I'm not, if Uriah Hall hears this, I'm not trying to make fun of his, I feel bad. I love the guy. I happen to love the guy. I'm not trying to put it down. I'm just saying that, like, maybe he wasn't in the best state of mind to do a boxing match for the first time. But he won.
Definitely wasn't in the best shape. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's like when Ronda Rousey, remember she was on Ellen and she said she was like going to commit suicide. And then she looked up and saw Travis Brown and said, I need to have his babies. And that's what got her out of
I think that would make me want to kill myself if my option was Travis Brown to have babies with. I'd have been like, I was going to commit suicide. I look at Travis Brown. I got to have sex with him. I will commit suicide.
Yeah, death first.
That's it. That's my option.
Brad, I'll tell you what. If you ever get a chance to meet Travis Brown and you don't know how great he is, give him a few minutes. He'll tell you.
Oh yeah, Travis Brown.
He'll tell you all about how great he is.
So, all right. By the way, I talked to Mayhem Miller. He called me yesterday from jail.
Oh, nice.
And I caught him up on the Jake Paul stuff. He was laughing really hard about the guy driving into my house on July 4th.
That sounds like something he'd find hilarious.
That guy's stealing my moves.
Dude, he was like, he was crying, laughing. He was
like, did he go to my driving school?
He was so I think he might be getting out in May. So that's if anybody needs an update, but he sounded really good. He's just one of those guys, man. The hardest part about Mayhem is when he's healthy and they got him on the right meds. You can't get enough of the guy. He's just the coolest, most fun person ever. But when he's off his meds and on alcohol and drugs, it's like
he's an even better time.
Fucking head for the hills. Head for the hill. You talk about
update your insurance before that happens.
You talk about a movie where like you love the person at the beginning and then they become like the worst human being ever. Like that's exactly what Mayhem is like. On the meds, off the meds. On the meds, you won't find a more fun person to hang out with. Off the meds is like, if anybody's ever doubting whether or not medication works, that should be the case study of just Jason Mayhem Miller, because but he's in good spirits, and it was good talking to him. It was funny when they call, like, you have a call from Chino State Prison. Like press 5 to accept.
And you're like, I hope this is Mayhem.
I'd be wondering which one of my friends was calling me, because they're all.
You're just like, oh, please don't let this be someone. Yeah, someone wrote your number by the phone.
And here's the thing, like,
for a good time, call.
He was laughing so hard about the Jake Paul thing and all this stuff. I almost wanted to tape it and then play it on the podcast, because I'm getting his first reactions. But I'm like, I want to just talk to him. It's not about everyone else hearing our conversation, So
not everything has to be content.
Yeah, right. Right.
Totally. I mean, that's just the way I feel.
So, all right, Don. So Nate Diaz and his team came to the Jake Paul fight. They started a fight. I guess they ran into is it a locker room or a dressing room when it's a fight? Is it a dressing room or a locker room?
Locker room.
All right. So they ran into the locker room and got kicked out. All kinds of Nate slapped. I guess Jake Paul has a guy with the tattoos all over his head who's his breathing coach. And Nate slapped his breathing coach. They got thrown on.
You know what, though? Just by the title, I feel like he deserved it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying breathing, like a breath of breathing.
Breathing. Yeah, like breath work. Like
breath work. He has a breath coach. So
I do too. It's my wife when she's standing there with scope and a toothbrush.
Yeah.
So Nate slapped
Talk to my coach about it. I don't know what to tell you.
Anyway, why does every life coach on TikTok have face tattoos? Like everybody that wants to tell you about like, here's what you got to do with your life. They all have like tattoos all over their head. They look like this was the only option. Like they've been to jail for like 12 times. And
I have to tell you, as a career, life coach comes with red flags to begin with. And anyone who is like, I need that to be my life coach, you have even bigger red flags.
Every life coach has fucking gang tattoos on their face. But anyway, so Nate slapped him. Nate got thrown out of the arena. And now they're saying it's going to be Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul next. I do not want to see Nate Diaz lose to Jake Paul in boxing, which I think, unfortunately, based on, Jake's been boxing full time. That's all he does is box. He's younger. He's stronger. I know a guy who fought Jake Paul, said no one was ever tested. Not one steroid test happened from the horse's mouth, right? So I think he might be on stuff. And I think Nate has had to train jiu-jitsu, wrestling, grappling. He was training for Chimaev his last fight. All he did was wrestle. He didn't do any boxing his last fight. And now you're going to throw him in there against, how old is Nate Diaz? 37, 38?
He's 37.
How many wars does anyone want to see Jake Paul beat Nate Diaz? And don't get me wrong, I'll put money on Nate Diaz. I'll fucking, because if he wins, I'll be thrilled. I put money on Anderson Silva. What's up, people? BetOnline.ag. Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events. You can bet the NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code CLNS50 to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Check it out.
Go in there and fight him, and he wanted to go in there and actually fight him, and so he was like, "Oh, didn't make weight. No, can't fight him. Yeah, you're out," which is bullshit because they've never fought anyone that weighed the same ever. They're never the same. So for him to be like 5 pounds too heavy, no, not me. It's the fighting commission guys. Bullshit.
By the way, that guy Rockman is now fighting Vitor Belfort next.
Good for him. He should fight, but obviously, no one's going to give him that kind of money to fight. He's probably fighting him for a ham sandwich, whereas. But he obviously didn't agree to the, hey, take a dive thing. And that's the thing. So if this thing with Diaz gets made, we'll know whether or not Diaz takes a check based on whether it actually gets all the way to the fight. Because I don't think Diaz will agree to the fucking knockout clause, and eventually they'll find some excuse to fucking cancel it.
So by the way, Roy Jones right now, he put an open challenge to fight anybody in celebrity boxing, right? Anybody.
That's a ballsy move for one of the greatest of all time to challenge a celebrity.
Well, so he found
he's basically saying, I'll take your check. I'll take a dive.
Well, this is the guy he's fighting.
Retired.
He's fighting this guy. His name is NDO Champ, for No Days Off Champ. Wait till you see this guy.
Looks like the guy that he's off of steroids.
Oh my God.
Give me power. Give me power. I swear to God. When I catch you, boy, I'm gonna eat your heart. I'm gonna eat your heart raw and feed it to my dog.
Wait, is that guy from the movie Bloodsport? He was jumping around. Remember the guy?
What's the name of this gym? All Natural Warriors? Is this the Vegan Warrior League? What? Jeez.
Looks like a really bad impression of Bob Sapp.
Yeah. Worse than mine.
So that's who Roy Jones is fighting next.
I'm sure the guy has the resume to back it up. I'm sure if you.
Well, he looks like he has incredible cardio.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he'll be blown up just walking to the ring.
Exactly. Like all he's got to do is just dance around for one good round. That guy will be gassed.
I'll take a side bet with you guys that he still looks better cardio-wise than Uriah Hall.
I mean, so the NDO champion, no days off of steroids, basically.
Exactly.
Are we gonna watch this? I'm gonna watch Roy Jones versus the NDO champ, right? Are you gonna watch?
No.
I was the biggest Roy Jones fan ever growing up until I met him, and then he was like, I was like, dude, you've been like my hero since I read about you in Sports Illustrated, your Olympics. He was like, yeah, cool. Took a picture with me and then started talking to somebody like that or whatever. And the guy that introduced me to him was a friend of his. And then he said, hey, did you get to meet Roy? I was like, yeah. He took a picture with me and said, cool, and then like walked away. When I was trying to talk to him, and he goes, oh, he just doesn't know you're a UFC fighter. I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to talk to him anymore. You know what I mean? Like the guy went over and told me, he goes, hey, I didn't know. I was like, no, man, I'm good. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like if you know what I mean? If that's how if your interaction with fans is cool, like when they say how much they admire you and you walk away and start talking to somebody.
That used to be the way they all were, though. That used to be the way they all were. Now everyone's got a fucking camera, so you gotta be like, you know.
But but they once, oh, you're a UFC fighter. Okay, my bad. I was like, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. So I don't need to talk to you anymore.
But then you and Roy became friends when you worked for him, though, right?
Well, yeah, I went down and did that fight for him, because that's when he started talking me into taking that fight that I was not prepared for. But I still fought harder than Anderson Silva for the 3 minutes I was in there before getting arm barred. But that was. I meant to tell you guys. Actually, I did tell you, but. This is more for you, Adam, than anybody. But so I'm calling a lady today at a bank. I'm trying to reorder some checks. And my mom runs a business here in Indianapolis, and she's known for being very demanding at times, I guess, when it comes to business. Sweetest lady ever when it comes to business. She's like with banks and stuff. Like she wanted her money one day and they didn't want to do it. So she wanted all her money then. Like she told them, you better have me a check for every dime she had in there today. I'm coming to get it, because they didn't want to do something she wanted to do. So she's going to pull out $800,000 or something like crazy or whatever. Then they apologize. Anyway, so I called and I was trying to order checks, and they said, oh, wait, is this Jennifer's husband? That's my mom's name, because they said, I said, Sean McCorkle, we have the same bank. Says, oh, is this Jennifer's husband? I said, no, he's dead. That was my dad. But thanks for bringing it up. And the lady was like, I am so sorry. I said, oh, it's okay. I said, it happens, and I said, it's tough. But she goes, well, if it makes you feel any better, I lost my dad when I was 21, 10 years ago. I said, yeah, it doesn't. Mine's fresher. I said, mine was only a few years ago. So mine burns more than yours, though it still kind of hurts. And I just kept giving her a hard time about it. And I finally told her I was joking. I said, I'm just giving you a hard time. I like to give people a hard time about that. And there was just silence on the other end of the phone. Yeah. Like she didn't like the joke. And I was like, like on Father's Day, like I'll tell one of my friends, hey, it must be nice to have a dad take a picture with, and just silence on the phone still. So then I tried to give her another example, and just silence, like she was not getting it or liking it. So I don't know. I thought it was funny, but apparently I got silence on this too. So I guess it wasn't.
I don't know what's more funny, the story or the fact that Don Frye fell asleep. He literally fell asleep during the. I thought he died. I thought you killed him with the story. Like I thought you actually killed him. Don, you fell asleep just now. You know that, right?
Oh, dude, was I snoring?
Not yet, but you were twitching a little bit.
He didn't play. He was rewatching Anderson Silva and Jake Paul. Is what happened.
Yeah, we could tell you were running in a field in your dreams. So
Don Frye, two people that ever put Don Frye to sleep: Gary Goodrich and Sean McCorkle story.
He mentioned
Thanks for reminding me about Gary. Yeah.
Hey man, you beat him 2 out of 3. So yeah. Sorry about that, but I thought you would laugh. All right, so now the fights, the fights this week.
Oh, we're gonna talk about real fighting again. Great.
Yeah. The fight. You're not upset, are you, Don?
No,
Oh.
I'm going to kill you when I see you.
So you're fine.
All right. So fights this week. I don't understand. So the UFC has a fight night this week in Nevada. The main card they have is Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos. Granted, both great fighters. Marina's 16-1, Lemos 12-2-1, but no one knows who these people are. Why not save this for like a Brazil card? Since I think they're both from Brazil.
They are, yeah.
Now Neil Magny is fighting D-Rod on this card. Now that's the fight. I know D-Rod was upset because his last fight, everyone thought the Asian dude won. What's the guy's name? The guy that
Are you saying we all look the same and you're having trouble?
Was it Korean Zombie? Was it?
No, it was a fight. It was that card that everyone got.
I know which fight you're talking about. I can't remember who it was.
It was the one where everyone got like flipped. Remember, it was supposed to be Chimaev.
Right, the reshuffle card. That's right.
I could tell you if I knew who D-Rod was. Who's that?
D-Rod. He fought Li Jingliang and won a split decision.
That's what it was.
Everyone thought that D-Rod's a guy. He's 17-2. Said he had 250 fights in jail and street fights. And
nice round number.
And he never lost. He never lost.
250-0 in the street. That's right.
But in the UFC, he beat Mike Perry. He beat Kevin Lee.
Damn.
He beat Dwight Grant. He beat Tim Means. I mean, he's beaten a lot of guys.
I don't know how I don't know who he is if he beat all those guys. That's strange.
He's one. He has a tattoo on his chest. That's like
1996, is it? 1996?
Yeah, I think it was the year he's born.
Or 86? I think it's 96.
I think it's everybody he beat. Every time he wins a fight, he updates it.
Let me take a look. Wait, let me look at the. Yep, still can't tell. It's either 86 or 96.
And then
I think whichever way was probably the number of fights that went to a decision in the street. He wanted to be able to remember. So 96 of those were decision, the other ones were not.
Yeah. 250 were unanimous.
So he's fighting Neil Magny, who's coming off a loss to Shavkat Ramanov, who's like they're saying is the next big thing. This guy's 16-0. He's a guy that just beats up everybody. But he beat Max Griffin barely. He beat Jeff Neal. Lost to Chiesa. That's a good fight. Magny's a gamer, also a military guy. And then Josh Parisian. He's the guy that got humped. Remember that guy that like the black dude? I think his name is Don't Tell Maine. Had him down and started humping his face.
Oh yeah. That was
We still talking about the UFC here? You guys lost me with humping his face. I don't remember that happening in a UFC fight.
Hold on. You remember we played it on the show? Like he was in like a north-south position, and then the guy just started
I do remember. Yeah,
hitting him in the face with his cup,
like pretty aggressively.
And then I posted the picture on Instagram, the video, and he commented saying, dude, I was the one under there. I was like, ref, what the fuck is this? So he's fighting Chase Sherman, which should be a good fight. And Nate Mayanis is fighting against Tabir Ulanbalikov. This fight's going to be good. Grant Dawson, 18-1-1. He used to work at an old age home as a cook. He's fighting Mark Madsen, who is an Olympian from Denmark, Olympic wrestler, Greco-Roman. I don't know if he won the gold, but he's great. He beat Vince Pichel barely. He's winning his last couple fights barely.
Yeah. Mark Madsen's a gamer, man. He's older, but he's a gamer.
And then on the other card is Jin Frye, who's like this hot half Korean girl who's like a nuclear scientist. So she's fighting Polyana.
No chance at the title there. She didn't used to be a heroin addict. There is no chance she wins anything.
I was gonna say, did she get dumped by somebody at least? Cheated on? If she was cheated on, or at least abused, maybe.
Radioactive.
Did she get bit by a radioactive spider? So they all have the same origin story.
So that's this Saturday, and then the next Saturday.
Can I tell you something? Wait a second. Can we talk about this Neil Magny fight? Because as much as Daniel Rodriguez should absolutely win this fight, this is exactly the kind of fight Neil Magny shows up and wins.
Yeah.
As much as it should be just definitely D-Rod, absolutely. This is the kind of fight that they send to Neil Magny, and then he fucking ruins everybody's expectations and fucking wins the fight.
You're absolutely right.
What's weird is I was trying to think the whole time that there's one thing for sure is that Bruce Buffer will be coming after my anus One
I was like,
for the fight.
Is it Manus or Manus? Myanus?
Say Myanus. I was like, I'll tell you who's coming on TV after that is Bruce Buffer, because he's always after Myanus.
Jesus.
All right.
Coming on TV and everything else.
So that's going to be on ESPN Plus. Jake Paul calls out a bitch. Nate Diaz told Dana White to suck his dick. Anderson Silva said he had a stupid strategy against Jake Paul.
Yeah, don't throw punches. You do throw them at half speed. That is a bad strategy.
No, it was take the extra $2 million.
Yeah.
It's not a bad strategy. That's a good strategy.
It really isn't. It just
I really want to know what happens.
I felt bad, as he was doing it. Yeah. Now today it probably feels fantastic. Well, he's like, cha-ching. So
right.
If it all comes out one day that these fights are rigged, I wonder if there's criminal charges. Like, I wonder what happens, because that's illegal as hell to rig fights. Like, that's a big. That's the only thing that's ever made me think maybe it wasn't rigged, is you could go to prison for that. Like, that's like, there's big money being bet on in fights. I mean, if you're rigging it, that's a problem.
Now, do you think he's making UFC fighters look bad?
Do I think it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes everyone who loses to Jake Paul makes the UFC look like a joke, because even those guys, like even Ben Askren, supposedly should have been training boxing for the 12 years that he was doing that. Jake Paul isn't some wonder kid striker. It isn't like he's like, he can box a little bit, he can hit hard, but he's not like, it ain't like he's Roy Jones Jr. when he was, an Olympian or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not, put him in there with a real boxer his age, they'll knock his head off. So it's embarrassing to me, man. It is, that's the only thing I can tell you, is it almost has to be rigged. A guy like Anderson Silva has been boxing for 25 years. Like, you don't just forget how to box. You know what I mean? Like, it's like.
Well, and not only that, don't give him a real fighter. Make him fight in a real division, in a real organization where he has to be tested for steroids and has to compete like a real athlete against real athletes. And then you'll find out what he really is.
Well, eventually, if he keeps winning, he's going to be ranked, right? He's going to eventually get ranked by some organization, right? Let's say he wins 5 more fights. But it's going to be like this 25th ranked guy in the world, the 30th. He's going to have to fight one of the guys ahead of him, right? I mean, eventually, can this guy just keep fighting celebrities, MMA fighters?
Yes. And you watch when he finally comes.
As long as people are buying the pay-per-view, yes.
Yeah. And then the second that people stop buying it, or the demands like, you got to get in a real organization or fight somebody real, he'll just quit and be like, you know what? I'm going to retire undefeated. I've killed this sport. Time for my next adventure. Now I'm going to conquer whatever. And he'll move on to,
I'm surprised.
Kayaking or some shit.
In other sports, they just do the same thing. Like basketball, just take 5 guys and be like, we're the best in the world. And they beat up a bunch of celebrities in basketball and then never have him actually play the Knicks. So, well, they probably beat the Knicks. But, I mean, it's amazing that this dude actually might never have an actual fight against an actual boxer and make $50 million. That's
I almost consider.
Yeah, wait, you've got fucking Biden in the White House, and you're saying this is unbelievable.
I don't know how we went from that. That's kind of a
strange world.
I would almost say that.
I know that if I would have been in a good financial position when I beat Mark Hunt, if I'd have still been a millionaire like I was before my ex-wife ruined everything, I thought about retiring after that and being like, I guess we'll never know how good I could have been, but I just beat one of the best fighters in the world. I'm undefeated, 12-0, or whatever. I actually thought about doing that because I was like, I knew I had trained with really good dudes, dude. I knew I was never going to be the heavyweight champ of the world. Like when I get beat up by Jake O'Brien in training and he gets finished by Cain Velasquez in 90 seconds, I'm like, I'm probably not beating Cain Velasquez in a fight. You know what I mean? Like I was pretty sure.
I mean, Don Frye, I would almost say to your thing that Trump winning would be more on the par of Jake Paul because he's not a politician. Like, I'm not saying what he was good or bad. I'm not putting down Trump or I'm not praising him. I'm just saying that, like, basically this guy is like winning in a sport and he's not actually fighting anybody who does the sport. But everyone is talking about him. It's kind of
amazing, really, man. If you think about it, it's an amazing story. Like it absolutely is. Like,
but I mean,
yes, it's just terrible for legitimate sports,
right?
It is, right? I mean, it's other than the fact.
Okay. Well, let's go to the guy who's a male swimmer beating the women. Then let's do that.
The transgender.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, it's not okay. That's not okay. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying any of this is okay. I'm saying it's pretty incredible and unbelievable that this guy is going to make all this money as a boxer, goes around thinking he's an amazing boxer, has a large percentage of people fooled that he's a great boxer, but we never know how good he is because he doesn't actually fight anybody who boxes.
Because he's smart.
We really have no idea how good this kid is. Like, no idea. I mean, because he's not fighting anyone that boxes for a living.
You know, even when they talk about him fighting Canelo is what, 145 pounds, 147? He's not very big, right?
No, but if he fights Canelo, I would be shocked if it goes more than one round.
Yeah, Canelo should murder him, but if he also has 70 pounds on him, that does make a difference. If he's walking in at 220, I don't know how big Canelo is. I literally don't know if he's but I thought he was 147, 152, something like that.
I mean, he's got Jake Paul has good trainers, and they're teaching him how to set up things, how to.
Oh, it's set up all right.
What combinations?
It's setting it up all right.
Teaching him what combinations to throw. A lot of these UFC guys they're not boxers. They don't know how to flinch. They don't know. I mean, they're also doing bad habits of Woodley's fucking guarding his legs because he thinks he's going to get kicked and then he gets punched in the head. Right. So there's nothing that Canelo will have not seen before. In fact, Canelo will cause Jake Paul to go into a trap real early and just get knocked out real quick. It'll be like
him winning would be as crazy as a terrible UFC fighter becoming a super famous stand-up comedian.
Thank you.
I mean,
like Brendan Schaub. That's what I'm getting at.
I almost think it's like
nobody put that together.
Sure you guys
I mean, it's almost like if CM Punk would have brought in people that weren't fighters and just beat the living shit out of them before he got to the UFC.
Can you imagine if CM Punk would have came in and ran through the UFC, just whipped that on his ass?
That's what I'm saying. Is that CM Punk? But what he's doing essentially is with CM Punk beating a bunch of boxers in MMA,
right?
And then saying I'm the greatest fighter in the world, but never actually going into MMA. I mean,
the only thing Jake Paul is good at is picking guys that make for a great, event. That don't make for good fighting, but make it look like it. Make it look like it.
I know, but I don't think people are going to be. Are people going to be sold on Nate Diaz winning?
I'm telling you, the Nate Diaz thing will never happen.
Why?
Yeah. Because he's not going to agree to take a dive. He's going to want to actually go in there to win, and they'll find some excuse to fucking call it off.
If the Diaz fight happens, it will probably be Jake Paul's last fight. I would guess his plan on his life. He doesn't plan on doing this for a career. He's going to milk this for all it's worth, but he knows Diaz will beat him. I mean, most likely anything can happen, but he knows Diaz will beat him. And I think that'll be like his one, but it's a huge payday. Him or McGregor, if McGregor can get out of his contract, which he doesn't like he can, but if you could make $50 million on it, who cares if you win or lose,
Yeah, but Diaz has been training boxing for MMA and has been doing all kinds of other stuff and has all this mileage on him. Whereas Jake Paul's doing nothing but doing straight up boxing for 4 years.
Yeah, but Diaz also been boxing for 20 years too. So, I mean, and they say he goes, what's his name said Andre Ward said he can hang with him. You can hang with Andre Ward.
8 years ago, though. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Holyfield get demolished by Vitor.
Yeah, but he was 62 or something like that. So Vitor Belfort was old. He was 45 and he was fighting somebody 20 years older than him. So
I can't even, guys. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
All right. Okay. What do you got?
Look, neither can Don. Don can't stand it either. Look at him. Don's like, wake me when there's a new president.
Don, didn't you fight a bear one time?
No, that was my ex-wife.
They took a bear to the circus to wrestle Don.
By the way, meanwhile, Sean, you told me that Bob Sapp had 3 months to live, right? That was like 6 years ago.
That's what his friend told me, that he was dying and he was slowly giving all his money away. And he's got Bob Sapp's an awesome dude, man. I love that dude.
He's fucking ripped right now. He's in the best shape of his life.
And doesn't lift weights, does not touch a weight. So
what is he doing?
Dude, Bob Sapp he's got his master's in pharmacology, legitimately, not just street pharmacology. He has his master's in it. He is on the cutting edge he's a bright dude, man. He's smart. He goes to Thailand and he gets like stem cells. He gets these peptide things. Like he's told me all the time, he'll take me to Thailand and get my back fixed. He said, I'll get your back fixed. You go to Thailand with me. I'm just a little bit afraid to go to Thailand with Bob Sapp. I don't know why. Just a little bit. Sounds a little bit. When I was in Japan with him, he took his shirt off. We walked out of the building. He takes his shirt off and just starts walking down the street laughing, going, ha, ha, ha. And we had it was like Godzilla was coming down the street the other way. We had thousands of people coming toward us. That by no means was a slant toward Asian movies, but no, like thousands of Asian people running toward us. They were going crazy. It made me nervous, man. Like it really, he's such a big star over there. They were grabbing us, like jumping, taking pictures with us, all this and that. Nobody knew who I was. They just knew I was with Bob Sapp. But
I remember when he called and said it was like a kidnapping or something. And
he was like, they were accusing him of kidnapping. And he was like, I kidnapped somebody, but it was somebody else. It's not who they were talking about. When the one I did was as a joke.
And he was laughing at all the wrong moments. He was laughing.
Yeah, he was laughing at stuff that was completely not funny.
He is, dude. He's one of the people. He is so smart. It would shock you when you talk to him. He is a really smart dude, man. Really, really.
I know he's a really nice guy with a really great sense of humor. I do know that.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Greg, what do you got coming up?
This weekend, I'm in Dallas, Texas, at TK's Comedy Club in Addison. So join me there. I'll be there Thursday through Sunday. And then the following week, Friday through the following, I'll be there for like a week and a half. I'll be in Las Vegas first at the Dirty at 12:30. And then the next week, I'll be there all week for the LA Comedy Club. I'll be headlining the LA Comedy Club at the Strat. So back in Vegas for like a week and a half, the 11th, it's like the 11th through the 20th. I will be in Las Vegas for 9 fucking long days. So that's what I have coming up. And also Morro Bay down there in like Central California. I'll be coming to the Saturday right after Thanksgiving. I'll be doing a show there at I believe it at the theater there in Morro Bay.
Be careful in Vegas, Greg, please.
Oh, I will. I know. It's just a long time to be on the road.
Yeah. December 3rd to the 10th. I will also be in Vegas at the LA Comedy Club. I'll be there the whole fight week. Sean, what do you got?
I'll be in Germany that week. Otherwise, I probably would have came to Vegas with you guys. But I do want to warn Greg, not about Vegas, but about Dallas is where Schaub shot his last special, which I've heard nothing but great things about. I heard he killed in his last special. I think it's got like a 1.6 on IMDb or whatever. But also be careful, Greg, because he referred to the Dallas crowd as you Mexicans the entire time during his specials. Like, listen, you Mexicans crack me up. Mexican women, hey, like he thought he was in Mexico. He kept saying, like, you Mexican, you guys, I'm married to a Mexican. I'm like you guys. I know how you Mexicans are. And just over and over again.
He thought the crowd didn't speak English, which is why they weren't laughing.
Yeah. Dude, if you get a chance, definitely, it's Gringo Poppy. Definitely don't watch it if you get a chance. That's his special.
If I get a chance, I'll be sure not to see that.
Don, what do you got coming up?
It's going to be the biggest week of my life. I'm about to sign. How do I say this? About to sign.
I got it.
Was that on purpose? I don't even know that was even on purpose.
Yeah, he said he's about to sign off.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about to sign off because he's like, I'm going to be laying here for the next week recovering. So
he's such a legend. All right, you guys.
I love it. It's the biggest week of my life.
I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, man.